Once you've logged into your server, you can send more queries to either retrieve from or send updates to the server. When we enter a query string into this field and click on the Submit button, the query string entered into this field is appended to the server address and sent to the server. This is done through another AJAX function called OpenObject, which receives the entire URL and returns the server's response in a callback. The response data, like when we logged in, is stored in our global FC data variable, and it is stringified, formatted, and displayed in our response body field. We'll look at the vkey section in a minute. Let's look at this in operation, and we'll use our API docset tool to get our query. Let's say we want to retrieve the session information. This is classified as a GET, so we select from the Known Objects category and Session Info, then click on the Copy button. We can paste this clipboard information into our field and click on Submit. Due to browser security restrictions, most requests are subject to the same origin policy. The request can't successfully retrieve data from a different domain, subdomain, or protocol, and this means that any request to the API from a web browser application from a different domain, subdomain, or protocol will be denied a request to the FirstClass server. To overcome this browser restriction, the API provides a JSON-P script injection mechanism that enables data to be submitted and retrieved as part of a script request, which does not fall under the same origin policy restrictions. What we get is the JSON response displayed. Some of these fields may be immediately recognizable, but others may not. The important thing to know here is that all of this is just a JSON object that we can parse and display any way we want, as long as we know what the field IDs refer to. In the next video, we'll have a short discussion regarding JSON and how you can read these objects. So we can explore the different types of known objects and submitting the query to the API for processing. Let's take a look at what's on the user's desktop by selecting Containers, then Desktops, and copying, then submitting that query to the server. This returns all of the objects, including the hidden objects that are on the user's desktop. Some are containers, and other things are like subscriptions or people you follow. I know I have a staff discussions conference on my desktop, so let's search for that. As I scroll down, I see that it has a web ID of this, so I'm going to copy it and use it to drill down. I can add to my desktop path and submit it. Each item can be opened simply by adding to the path. I know, for example, that obj_type2 is another container, so if I search for that, I can find the newsletters and archive folders. I'll capture the web ID as before for this container and continue to drill down. Using a series of stacked or deferred callbacks in your code, you can drill down and present information as deep as you like. The Code Sampler series has a number of examples that demonstrates this. In each case now, we have just retrieved information from the server. What if we wanted to use the API to update or send information to the server? This is normally considered a post, but we cannot do cross-domain posts. To use JSON-P to retrieve data, a web application must issue a GET request. The API docset still classifies these as posts, though, to make them easier to find. For example, if we want to create a new Pulse post, we see that we can select the Pulse category and the Pulse post status update item. You see that a query string includes a JSON object, and it also includes a vkey requirement. I'll copy this query and paste it into my query field. The instructions indicate that text and vkey has to be substituted with actual values. I can replace the text with something like my pulse update, but what about the vkey? This has to be one of the 10 vkeys that we captured and stored in our vkey array when we logged in, as we saw in our previous video. When I exit this field, you will see that I have a change event that does just that. When I submit the query, we are alerted that a vkey is replaced and no error, error code 0, indicates that the post was successful. Back in the inspector.js file now, we return to the code and see how it checks to see if a vkey was returned, and then updates the vkey used on the post with the returned value, and then generates another random number for the next post or logoff vkey. The change event on the query field is shown here. Now we have everything in place to be able to retrieve and update content using a simple AJAX function. The key then is understanding the JSON format and how to determine what the different field IDs represent. The next few videos will help you along that path.